Alrighty, I think we can go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today and spending some time. Over the next hour. We will be meeting with our chemistry department. I am very excited for you all to be able to meet some of our faculty members in the chemistry department, as well as some of our students. At any point in time during tonight's session, if you would like to enter in questions, please do feel free in the Q&A box that's located on the bottom of your screen. And we will have a live Q&A portion at the end of this session. And if for any reason, if you need to log off early, we will have the session recorded and it will be sent out to all of our students, more than likely tomorrow or on Monday. All right, without further ado, I would love to introduce you all to the chair of the chemistry department, Dr. Penny Boyning. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Lauren. So welcome. It's great to talk to you all. I'm happy to have the opportunity to tell you a little bit about our department. So I'm the professor and chair, as Lauren said, and I have a PhD in chemistry. This is my 15th year at Northeastern. And I work in chemical biology. I'll talk about that in a second. And I also wanted to mention that while I was an undergrad, I worked at 3M, which some of you may be familiar with for things like Scotch tape and Post-it notes, although they do a lot of other things too. And so I did have some industry experience before I continued on my academic career. And so my research is related to DNA damage responses and protein engineering. And actually, this is like such an amazing time to be a chemist. It's just an incredibly exciting time because, as you see in the upper left-hand corner of that picture, a lot of chemistry has gone into both detecting and now fighting the coronavirus, and has gone into the technology and the vaccines, as well as all of the efforts to develop new drugs and to develop diagnostic tests. And so what my research is in part, we try to understand how the different proteins in cells actually act to protect cells against DNA damage, which is ubiquitous. So in the environment, in the food we eat, and our normal metabolism. And then I also have a project with my colleague, Mary Jo Onderkin, another chemistry faculty shown in this picture with me, to use knowledge that we're gaining of how proteins work to engineer them for new functions. And some of the things that we've discovered recently are how protein movements, so the intrinsic movements of proteins, control function. And we're also working to apply the methods from the Onderkin group, these computational methods, to predict how proteins work to proteins that are involved in disease for personalized medicine. And yeah, that is a picture of me from my first year of college, braces and all. And I wanted to highlight two of the students who worked in my lab out of about 100 undergraduate students who've worked in my group over the 15 years. And on the left it's actually a screenshot of a YouTube video of Khadija Balfour Jeffrey singing the national anthem at a Red Sox game. So that was really quite a remarkable event for her. And so she carried out undergraduate research. She did a research co-op in my group, and she went on to earn a master's degree in forensic medicine, and now is working for in a firm doing national security and cybersecurity. So really quite a career. And then the other person shown here is Nicholas Delatour, and he also worked in my lab, also did research co-ops, although that's not a requirement by any means, but it is an opportunity for our students to have. And he went on to earn a PhD from MIT and is now the co-founder, or a co-founder and chief scientific officer of a company called Rebel Pharmaceuticals. And so, as I mentioned, these two students did research co-ops in my group, but they also worked part-time independent of co-op. And so, there are lots of students who work during the semester, during the summer. All of our undergraduate majors will do research. It's a requirement to complete at least one semester of research to graduate, which is our capstone course, but actually most of the students do a lot more than that. Early in their career, it helps prepare them for their co-ops, and then later in their career, it's just a good opportunity to really think about what they want to do to learn a field of chemistry in depth, to gain different hands-on experience than they might get in a co-op. And so unfortunately, you can't be with us in person, but I wanted to show some of the buildings that we work in. So as I mentioned at the beginning, you saw the picture of our department faculty. in front of Hertig Hall, which is shown here. So that's where the chemistry department headquarters are. So you saw that picture of our 40 faculty members through research and teaching. And these are some of the other buildings that we work in on campus, including a one that has not yet been built in the lower right, which is under construction right now. And so if you were here, we would be walking around campus, although the weather isn't so nice today. So I think we're fine being warm and inside today. But we're sort of in a cluster on campus. And you can see where our buildings are located. And so I just want to remind you, chemistry really impacts us every day. It's all around us. There are numerous incredibly impactful careers that you can have in chemistry, including, as you see here, pharmaceutical and biotechnology industries are, very active in Boston. We're really a hub for these things. So lab scientists work in medicinal chemistry, analytical chemistry, quality control for pharmaceutical drugs, right? All those vaccines being rolled out incredibly rapidly have to go through very stringent quality control tests, and those are chemists and doing that work. But in addition to that, it's not just the lab scientists, although that's a lot of what we do, but also thinking about law, patent agents. We have students who are working in intellectual property, also in policy and communications, science writing and advocacy, policy analysts, public education about science. We also have people working in forensic chemistry, as I mentioned, my one student, but we have plenty of others. We have students who do co-ops at the Boston Police Department. So doing lab technicians, technician work in forensic science, but also doing field work, sample collection, environmental chemistry. You see this in the upper left, a depiction of sort of the dark side of our treatment of the environment, but a lot of chemists are looking at impurities in foods, how to make better food, how to make artificial food, or food not from animals, and also perfume and cosmetics chemistry. And I'll talk a little bit about a faculty member we have working in that as well. So there are an incredible number of applications, which we'll also get into a little bit more in a minute. So I'm just going to highlight a few faculty here. This is Mike Pilastri, and he has been a professor here for a few years. His research is in neglected tropical disease drug discovery, so trying to identify drugs for diseases that are really not being pursued by drug companies because there's sort of not enough of a market for it. And so just to point out, in 2020, 53 new pharmaceuticals were approved by the FDA to treat cancer and chronic disease, migraines, Ebola, multiple sclerosis and genetic disorders, and several other diseases. And so, but what Mike's group is doing is really working to develop drugs for people who are in really impoverished areas who don't have a lot of access to expensive pharmaceuticals. And here he's pictured with one of his undergraduate researchers. This is Professor Sanjeev Mukherjee, and he is in NUCRET, the Northeastern Center for Renewable Energy Technology, and his research is really focused on environmental sustainability and energy conversion and storage. And so he's working to develop fuel cells and better energy storage methods. And here's Professor Laila Jarvi, and she's shown with some compounds that her lab works on. And she's an analytical chemist and a materials chemist. And so there are a lot of applications of this work, in not just in her lab, but to work on what's the word I'm looking for? Like counterfeiting, so putting tags in materials. That's a really good application of material science that's related to security and forensics. That you could develop something that's embedded in a product that is that maintains the security and integrity of that product. But what Professor Jarvi's lab is working on now is actually using the camouflaging properties of cephalopods, so squid, that can change color and depending on different conditions, and this can lead to camouflage that's tunable for soldiers. So she's actually funded in part by Department of Defense. But the other thing that her lab is working on is developing these materials for for new cosmetics, so color changing cosmetics, and also safer sunscreens. And there's a real need for this. As you might have seen, that Hawaii has banned certain sunscreens because they're bad for the ocean environment, for organisms in the ocean. And so Professor Jarvi has actually started a company with a former student to develop and commercialize next generation sunscreens that will be much safer. And so she's shown here with a postdoctoral investigator in her lab, who's somebody who has earned a PhD and is spending some time doing additional training. And this is where I would introduce Professor Auger, who I think is here.
Hi, Penny.
Take it away, Jeff.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Just to be sure, do we want a couple of slides or just the chalk talk?
You have 2 slides, and then I'll pick it back up.
Okay. So perfect. What can I say? I'm an inorganic chemist as a PhD. One of the things that drew me to Northeastern is we have a really strong analytical chemistry program. You may or may not know this, but it's one of the best in the country. Many would say in the world. I worked as a co-op, as you can see here. So I'll share that in common with Northeastern students. And it wasn't quite as regulated in Flint, Michigan, so I ended up working just about full time, which was great in terms of money and experience. Maybe it was hard work, but so I know what it's like to work in industry, and I was a quality control chemist, so it informs how we research. And my lab studies ALS. We use mass spectrometers, which are really fancy bathroom scales to weigh molecules and see changes in molecules that occur with disease. And that's what we were doing for probably 10 years. And then we found a bunch of changes and they led us down a common path. And now we've been developing a therapeutic for about the past 8 years. And it's coming close. I kept thinking it would never work, but we can't seem to get it to stop. And so we're very, very close to clinical trials. In fact, just some IND enabling tox studies and a few other things. And then, well, obviously Flint, Michigan, folks up. That's how we would say that. And then I went to the University of Michigan, Flint. This is all here. And where I'm from, we fight like we brush our teeth. I wish that weren't true, but it is. So you can see from my clubs that there's boxing and karate and all these things just to be able to make it down the street in one piece. And I also did educational outreach for Flint, so bringing underprivileged children into the college and teaching them a little bit about chemistry, giving them some hands-on experience, borax experiments and fun stuff like that. And it was easy for me. My choice of college is different than I think a lot of you have better, more options. But for me, I had to pay for it myself, and I was on my own at 18, so I had to go right downtown Flint, where you could get a house for $100 and get to work. And I went to University of Michigan in Flint, which is great. I got a good education, happy about it. And grad school, Georgia, I wanted to study iron, and they were the best place in the world at that, and so I went there. And then I did a postdoctoral fellowship at McGill.
All right.
And I see the Q&A. I'll look in there. All right.
And we'll have live Q&A at the end. So
all right, great.
You'll be available to answer more questions. Thanks very much. So Northeastern has the rigorous academic experience that you're looking for, but also research experience and great opportunities to do research as undergraduates, to get, to learn about what the field is really about and what the range of experiences are that you can have. And then as well as the research experience, of course, there's also the co-op experience. And so you can get out in the real world and build a resume and explore your career options through co-op. And this will really set you apart from other students. It's an incredible opportunity. And also, like Jeff, I actually also paid my way through school. And so I had one choice because it was the place that gave me the most financial aid. If I knew about Northeastern when I was way back as a 17-year-old, I may have rethought my options. And I am actually, I have to say, quite envious of our students on an almost daily basis to think about the amazing opportunities that they have to go out in the world and work and get those experiences on co-op. And so, we are very focused in chemistry on support and enhancement of your experience for all students. We provide, faculty support, mentoring programs. There are student clubs and organizations you'll hear about in a minute. We have a really excellent peer tutoring group on campus. And also Boston is a really major scientific and biotechnology hub. And people think about the biotechnology and pharmaceutical industries here, which are incredible. It's an incredibly rich environment. But there are a lot of other industries here where you can be right in the middle of it. So construction industries, high technology, computer science, all of those things are here. And so a chemistry major is truly excellent preparation for medical school and dental school. So the professional schools, health professions, also for graduate school, if you're interested in further education for a PhD or a master's, and including, and not just in chemistry, but as I mentioned in, forensic science, we've had several students go out and get master's degrees in that field. And a huge range of careers that we talked about earlier. And I'm happy to answer more questions about that, of course. And we also have 2 combined majors that involve chemistry. One is environmental science and chemistry, and the other one is chemistry and data science. And the chemistry and data science in particular is very attractive to pharmaceutical companies, where they're really looking for people who have those skills to help design molecules and help interpret the wealth of data that they get during a medicinal chemistry campaign to try to develop a drug to treat an actual disease. And so these are some of our co-op employers. You can see it's a huge range. Include, Vertex drug companies. E-Ink is a company that makes e-reader screens or contributes to that technology. One of my former undergraduate researchers is now at Down East Cider, so making cider for her job. You can see there's a huge range of employers here. One thing I wanted to say is one of my undergraduate researchers who's in my lab right now was on co-op at Moderna. And so I just think about what an incredible story he has to tell his entire life from now that, he was at a company that was developing a vaccine to end a global pandemic. It's really amazing. And so, but you can see there's a huge range here. There, construction materials, Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute. So if you're, ocean science, environmental chemistry, NASA, we had a co-op working on food chemistry, developing better foods for astronauts. So really amazing opportunities and very fun types of projects that lead to a, incredibly fulfilling career and future and life. And so we also have an excellent co-op structure where we have staff people who will, prepare students to go on a co-op and then check in with them while they're on co-op and when they come back, help them integrate that experience. And then I'll just mention a couple of student clubs we have. So our Northeastern student affiliates of the American Chemical Society. So the American Chemical Society is the largest scientific organization in the world. And we have a student chapter that actually wins awards quite regularly for their excellent programming. And they do a lot of really great activities, and some of our excellent students here who are going to talk to you in a second, including mentorship and building community and inviting speakers to talk to students about their careers, inviting faculty to talk to students to get to know each other better. They do a lot of community outreach, some fun trips, not so much in this year, but and soon again, they'll be going apple picking and to a Celtics game and have lots of speakers coming in. And then these are just some of the other clubs that are available to chemistry majors. And then I will turn it over to Caroline Consoli to introduce herself.
Okay, hi there, everyone. Yeah, my name's Caroline Consoli. I'm a third-year chemistry major here at Northeastern. I'm also the director of social media and historian for NewsAx for this year and for next year. So if you join the club, you'll see me there next year. But yeah, I have had the opportunity to work in 3 different internship positions while I've been at Northeastern. One of them was back home. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, and I worked at Oak Ridge National Laboratory for a summer, getting to do some organic synthesis of simple natural products. After that, my 2 co-ops that I've gotten the chance to do, one of them was in the MedChem group at Alnylam Pharmaceuticals. So Alnylam's research is primarily focused on RNAi. If you haven't heard about RNAi, it's very interesting stuff, and it's very up and coming in medicinal chemistry, so it's cool to read about. But I was doing some multi-step organic synthesis for them before I ended up having to go home because of the pandemic. But I still got to do some fun stuff virtually there. And then this year, right now, I'm working at BMS in the Discovery Chemistry Immunology group. The position I have right now is really cool because I am working in collaboration between Bristol Myers Squibb and the Knowles lab at Princeton doing some photocatalytic chemistry research. So the stuff that I'm doing right now, we're finishing up a reaction so that we can publish it, hopefully within the next few months. So this has been a really good opportunity for me to get exposure both to industry and to academia work. Outside of that, yeah, I've been an active member of NewSACS for all of my time here at Northeastern, and I'm very grateful that I've gotten to be on eBoard this year. We do a lot of fun stuff there, which I think we may be coming back to later, but we have a bunch of fun speakers, and we've gotten the chance to have a lot of really cool people come in virtually this year because we're not restricted by people just in the Boston area. So it's a fantastic club. I really love it, and I'm sure Eric does too. Um, but yeah, other than that, yeah, I got to go on a dialogue to Rome my freshman year, as I'm part of the honors program. So the honors program will pay for the fees and stuff for a dialogue your freshman year. So I got to have that paid for, and I got to go to Rome and study some stuff a little bit outside of chemistry, focused on sustainability. Yeah, other than that, I'm planning on going to grad school right after I graduate. Something organic chemistry related, but I'm not sure exactly what yet. And right now I'm thinking of sticking with academia for the future and maybe going for a professorship. Yeah, if you have any questions, shoot them in the chat.
All right, thank you so much. And now I'm very pleased to introduce Eric Frostman.
Hi, everyone. My slide is a lot less detailed than Caroline's, but I'm happy to be talking to you all tonight. I just want to say congrats for getting into Northeastern. I know it's probably been hard applying to schools in the pandemic, but you did it, and I know that it's a really good decision on your part. I know, like Penny and everybody who's been talking, I hope that it gives you kind of a glimpse of some of the things that Northeastern has to offer. I'll just talk about my time at Northeastern. So I am a chem major, but I'm planning on switching to biochem just because I feel like that kind of fits me more personally. But I love the chemistry department. Can't say enough good things about it. And I'm also a French minor. I haven't gotten to take a French class yet because it just hasn't been able to fit with my schedule, but hopefully next fall I'll be taking one. And then, so my experiential education. So last year I worked in the Center for Drug Discovery on campus doing med chem and some behavioral science research. So I kind of I didn't do many reactions because we were cut short because of Corona, but I did get to observe some mice. So after the drugs we were synthesizing were put into the mice, I would kind of observe their behavior to see what the effects were. So that was really cool getting to see kind of the preclinical development and then afterwards. And then as far as co-op goes, I'm on my first co-op right now at Novartis, which is in Cambridge. So I'm doing synthetic med chem. I'm working on diabetes medication. So I've just been doing kind of full synthesis of the target drug that we're working on. I actually have my first presentation to my team next week. So I'll just be presenting my findings and kind of going over what I've done. So I'm a little nervous, but I'm also excited because it's cool getting to kind of show off the cool work that I've been doing, because I'm making drugs and compounds that have never been made before, which is really cool. So yeah, that is my first co-op. I'll be on co-op next spring as well. I'm not sure what I'll do yet, but hopefully something kind of along chemistry again. And then the other clubs that I'm in NewSACS as well. I was on eBoard this year. I was the vice president of departmental affairs. So I kind of handled things with the department. We had a trip to the aquarium on April 3rd. So we went to the New England Aquarium as a group. We were all socially distanced, but it was a lot of fun getting to actually go out and see each other in person for one last time for the semester. But we do a lot of activities like that when we're not in a global pandemic. So hopefully next year or the end of this year, when you're all on campus, we'll be able to do some more events. That's the plan, at least. I'm also a member of NU ACES, which is the Alliance of Civically Engaged Students. So that's a volunteering club on campus. I joined that my freshman year. And it's just a great opportunity to be able to volunteer throughout Boston, doing all sorts of cool events and meeting a lot of new people. I highly recommend joining if you want to get, experience in service and civic engagement. And I am also a member of Acting Out, which is a theater group on campus. I love theater because it's a great release of energy for me, because sometimes just working in labs and doing STEM stuff all day can get tiring. So theater is a really great way to let it all out. I do not have any global experience yet. Hopefully I'll be able to go abroad at some point, whether it's with Northeastern or just afterwards if I take a gap year, because I am not completely sure what I want to do with my life yet. I know that I want to do some research, with at least biomedical research, because that's been super fascinating for me. I'm considering working in industry for a little bit, either after undergrad, just so that I can make some money if I want to go to grad school, or maybe med school is also in the cards. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them in the chat. I'd love to answer them.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. Thanks to both of you. And so I want to thank everyone for joining us. We'll all stick around and answer questions. We're here to help you think through your choices. And I certainly hope that we'll be seeing all of you in the fall on campus. And just before I turn it over to questions, I want to introduce Professor Bob Hansen, who is off my screen, but I know he's here. And he is our department's Director of Undergraduate Studies. So he's a major point person for all things undergraduate curriculum related, thinking about how we can maximize research experiences for students and help thinking about, depending on what your career options might be or interests, Professor Hansen is somebody who will sit down with students and help plan out a curriculum that's going to help prepare you the best for that. So I will stop the screen sharing and turn it over to the questions.
Great, thank you, everyone. That was a great conversation. We have wonderful questions that have been coming in. So the first topic I want to discuss is the topic of research, undergraduate research specifically. We've had a few questions that I see. And maybe we can go to Dr. Auger, because you had written in your comments, you've had so many undergraduate students, student researchers during your time at Northeastern. Could you discuss a little bit about how undergraduate students get involved in your research lab?
I went to unmute and hit that. There's some weird Zoom thing under there. So sure. So one of the questions was also, what about in your first year? Just so you know, I can't speak for other professors, but I think it's great when a student comes in their freshman year. I see the department chair shaking her head too, so that's great. So I encourage it. It's usually a good sign. The bad sign is when somebody comes.
Oh, I think we lost you again.
A bad sign is when someone comes May of their senior year. So I'm graduating in a week. I'd like to get some. So that's that. It's usually an organic process. No pun intended. You just go around from lab to lab, see who has openings. It's pretty rare that we say no to an undergraduate. I actually can't remember the last time that we did. We just let people come on in and make a commitment in terms of when you're going to be there. We don't have any expectations, just that you show up when you say you will. And then we usually pair you with a graduate student, get you trained on some simple stuff to get your confidence up, and then, see where it goes. Like I said, as you can see here, we just sent somebody to Harvard. He got a paper. We just had two more just this week. Two undergrads were second and third author on a nice analytical chemistry paper, and that's one of the better. That's the best in our field, our subfield journal. So that's a brief version.
Wonderful. Dr. Hansen, would you like to add your thoughts?
I would certainly like to add that because, as part of the, for undergraduate advising, when we take a look at what you want to do, we try to fit in those opportunities, and we strongly encourage contacting the faculty members and starting to do research as soon as possible. Oftentimes that can end up as being a long-term, multi-semester engagement. You can generate work on an honors thesis towards the end, which ends up showing up on your record. It also gives you not only the opportunity to do papers, as Jeff was saying, but it really gives great preparation for the programs that you may want to go into afterwards, whether it's medical school, professional school, or even going into government. I mean, there are fellowships that look at those kinds of experiences. So we encourage contacting and seeing about research opportunities early on. And you can go and work with several different faculty members during that period of time.
Yeah, that's great. I will jump in there and just add, like Jeff, I love taking first year students. I have 2 working in my lab this year. They're doing awesome. They're getting real results, working roughly 10 hours a week or 8 hours a week or whatever it is. And this year has been, as you might imagine, really challenging. My own lab is completely full, right? So we're working in shifts, but we're engaging a lot of undergraduate students in online projects. Actually, a couple of my grad students have transitioned to online projects as well, but the undergrads, we're doing real computational research in support of major projects in the lab. And as we're allowed back, more people in the lab over the next few months, those students are going to transition into hands-on lab work. And so, we're making all of this work in really exciting ways because the students are really getting into the projects in great depth before they ever step foot in the lab. And actually it's been a great experience for me personally to be mentoring them in these projects, but then also so the students can really develop their background knowledge of the projects before they start pipetting, right before they start in the lab. So I think it's been a great experience. And I have students all the way from, first joining us first year, second, third years, and a few who come in just for senior research.
One of the things that I would add to that, Penny, is that we've managed to attract a number of younger faculty over the last few years. And so there are some really exciting new projects that have been going on. And it's cutting edge, it's new, and it really these are things that will make a difference for society.
Excellent.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. Eric, you actually do not have the first cat to attend one of these webinar events. I hate to tell you. Caroline, Caroline, I would like to have you follow up on this because a question came in about how do students in the honors program kind of go about research and what that process looks like. Could you take a few minutes just to talk about the honors office support for students doing research?
Yeah, so I kind of just haven't had the time while I've been here to do an on-campus research, but that's not because of the honors program. The honors program is really great about it. They have resources on their website that list like specific honors research opportunities. And that was really helpful for me. I looked into one of them, but it ended up not working out for me just because of other things happening. But yeah, honors advisors are great. They're super helpful, and reaching out to them is helpful for research purposes as well. But yeah, the website is very well built and it's very resourceful. I think you're required to meet with your honors advisor your freshman year, but I would definitely recommend meeting with them more frequently than you're required to, because they are very helpful for figuring out that research stuff and figuring out how to work the 6 honors courses into your schedule. All of that stuff they're great for.
Great, thanks for that info. Eric, I'm going to go to you with the next question. As a member of NewSax, I thought you would be a great person to talk about Chem Central and the type of academic supports that are available to students. And Caroline, we can definitely have you add in. You look very excited.
Yeah, great question. So Chem Central is like the chemistry hub. It's in Herdig Hall, which is our chem building. And it's a great place. It's like a home away from home. So you'll always find chem majors in there who are doing work. There are peer tutoring opportunities as well through Northeastern. So I know sometimes tutoring might go on in there or online. I know it's online right now or virtual. But yeah, so Chem Central is where we will host our NewSax meetings when we're in person. So those are on Thursday nights. So it's just kind of a big room where a lot of just the meetings in general go on. And if you have any questions, you can always go in there. You'll usually find an upperclassman. There is the office where our e-board sits. So that's kind of adjoined to the room. So if you knock on the door, you can ask e-board for any help. But yeah, so I know Caroline is talking about peer tutoring as well. I believe she is a peer tutor, so I can give it to her.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The peer tutoring program at Northeastern, this is kind of a side thing, but I did notice a question in the chat about it. The peer tutoring program is fantastic. It's entirely free, which I've never heard of another college doing. Most colleges, they have like tutoring resources for you, but they're not necessarily free. Northeastern's is entirely free and the peer tutors get paid for it. So it's all around a win-win. But the peer tutors are required to have gotten an A in the course that they're tutoring you in. So you can be assured that they know what they're talking about. And you can pick people based on the professor that they've had, so you know that they know what teaching style you're dealing with. But it's a really good resource. I've been doing it for the past 2 years for both general chemistry and organic chemistry, and I've had a lot of fun with it, and it definitely helps me remember how to do things when I'm at my job and stuff. But yeah, it's a great resource, and there's also TAs who sit in Chem Central during normal years that you can go and ask questions to about Gen Chem and Orgo and stuff like that. So a lot of resources available to you guys for tutoring and for keeping up with your classwork.
Wonderful, thanks so much. Dr. Boyning, I'm gonna go to you with this. This is a great question and it elaborates on a couple of points you made earlier in your presentation. Can you elaborate on creative opportunities in chemistry in terms of co-ops or research in areas such as chemistry and art restoration, perfumes, or cosmetics?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have had, we've had co-ops at L'Oreal. And then I did mention Professor Jarvi's company, although I'm not sure they're at the point where they're hiring co-ops yet. I'm not sure they're hiring anyone. I think it's still one person, but soon, I think. So there are definitely opportunities in that. The other thing that we have done quite a bit of, so we do have a PhD graduate who worked at the Harvard Art Museums for 30 years. He just recently retired, doing art authentication and art restoration. And so, but the other thing to keep in mind is the Museum of Fine Arts, the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, is just a 10-minute walk down the street. And so we've brought in people from there to do, like, to speak on a career panel so that you have the opportunity to make these connections with people and explore, those potential co-op opportunities or positions that you might be able to have in a, something that's like cosmetic chemistry or art restoration or other fields like that.
Great, thanks. Yeah, and I think Living Proof is another company that does the shampoos and hair care. That's right here in Massachusetts.
And actually, yeah, thanks for reminding me of that, because the other connection we have is Beyond Benign. So we're a signer to the Green Chemistry Agreement. And Beyond Benign is a company that basically reformulates products for companies to be more sustainable, greener process, and we have connections there as well.
Great, thanks for that additional information. Dr. Hansen, I'm going to go to you with more of a very concrete question. How do AP chemistry credits translate at Northeastern in your department? Let's say if you get a 4 or 5 on the exam, so you've earned credit from AP.
Okay, well, okay. If you have the AP in chemistry, usually you would be able to use them for the general chemistry, and you would be able to start onto your organic chemistry then in your first year. AP is also available for some math or physics courses as well. Those are courses that if you can essentially be tested out of them from your AP, it will certainly advance you into your curriculum and allow you to do many more variations in your program during the time that you're at Northeastern.
Wonderful. All right, next question. All right, let's go to the students for the next one here. So Eric, let's start with you. How easy is it from your perspective for students to engage in campus research? So it does not necessarily just have to be in the chemistry department, but across campus.
Sure. I know from my experience, I was able to get into campus research my first semester of freshman year. I think it could be relatively easy if you just send out an email to a professor whose research you are interested in and just express that. Oh, my cat's coming back, I'm sorry. And just express your interest in the work that professor is doing. That's what I did. When I went to work in the Center for Drug Discovery, I said, I emailed the professor and said, I don't have any organic synthesis experience, but I would love to learn, and I'd love for you to be able to teach me if that's possible. And the professor said that he would love to. And so it was as easy as just shooting out an email. So I think that kind of just speaks to at least my experience. And I think that other students have had similar experience from what I can tell. And I know that I'm sure that you could also reach out to professors in other departments as long as that research is kind of applicable to at least somewhat of what you're studying and what experience you have, or at least just the interest that you have. I mean, I personally wouldn't reach out to a professor who was doing research on like math, but that's just because it doesn't interest me. But if you're interested in something, I say just shoot your shot, and maybe something great can come out of it. So yeah.
Great. I'm going to tell Matthew said that. No, just kidding. Dr. Boyning, I saw you nodding your head there. Can you talk about the interdisciplinary nature of our campus and how students really do have the option to be able to try different things and move around?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, it is, interdisciplinary research is really a big focus of the campus, and combining different disciplines in different ways. And chemistry is, we call it the central science, and it's true because there are so many connections to so many different fields, and it's just highly relevant and highly applicable to solving a lot of different and a very wide range of real world problems. And so just as an example, in my own research lab, I think I've had students from 10 different majors work in my lab. And so including, chemical engineering, health sciences, bioengineering. So there's really, there's not a restriction on that. If you're a chemistry major, but you think you want to try some engineering research, in general, that's completely allowed and fine. And most faculty are very open to that. And I think that, Jeff, did you want to add something to that? I saw you unmute yourself.
No, I was just going to say, to Eric's point, when you send those emails out, wherever you decide to go to school, just make them personal, because most of us kind of throw out the blanket email if it's like, dear professor, I liked your research, and then and you're like, oh, you sent that to 20 people. But if you make it personal, it helps. And I also wanted to say I have people from all over the place too, Pharm Sci and even different colleges.
Great. And I'm actually going to follow up with Dr. Auger on for the next question. Can you talk about how intensive the commitment is that students have to make while doing research in your lab?
Sure. And every professor is different. We don't have rules on this. Our only rule, we really have one rule. It is let us know when you're going to be there and show up when you say you're going to be, or tell us you won't be there. I mean, it's literally the weakest set of rules ever. But so we don't have any minimum time commitment, but we just, somebody's going to be waiting for you. So we just ask the people, are responsible. Now, a lot of times people don't follow the rules and they still manage to stay in lab, but that's like in an ideal world, that's what we hope people would do. So for me, no expectations, but I can't speak for other professors. I think it's supposed to add to your undergrad. Like I work for you when you're doing undergraduate research, you're part of the chemistry department. I work for you. I want to facilitate that. For grad students, very different expectations, just so you know, and I'm not that nice.
Excellent. Isn't there a meme of the chemistry cat? I feel like this is the live version. Just teasing here. Caroline, let's go to you. Can you talk a little bit about your experience on campus in general? A lot of our viewers have never been to campus or to Boston. Can you talk a little bit about the campus environment?
Yeah, sure. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, but I'm really from like a small town outside of it. So I came to this campus from a much, much smaller city, and I knew that coming in. I was really looking forward to living in Boston. And that's a great thing about Northeastern is it's like smack dab in the center of Boston. So you're right near the Prudential Center, you're right near, everything's on Mass Ave, there's Newberry Street with all the shopping. Everything is right nearby, and Fenway as well. If you're into baseball, it's right there. But yeah, we have so many things around us. I believe Northeastern's campus sits on the corner of 4 different neighborhoods of Boston. A lot of students live in the Mission Hill area, which is where I live now. But there's a lot of community aspect here. There's like, you see all these local restaurants and stuff, local coffee shops and stuff. Boston is a great city to be in, especially as a college student. And Northeastern's campus, the great thing about it is that even though you're in the middle of the city and it feels like you're in a city, you get all of this. It's an arboretum, Northeastern's campus is. So it's a beautiful campus. There's all these green spaces and trees and beautiful flowers and stuff. So you get that feeling of being in a city as well as feeling like you have greenery around you, which is difficult to find in a city like this. So yeah, it's a great place to be. And nothing is super far from each other. All of the buildings are within like a 15-minute walk or so. So you're never too far from any one place at any one time. But yeah,
Great.
I love it.
I am also an alum of the university and I loved it so much I just never left. So I completely understand. Eric, how about you? What's your favorite spot on campus?
I think my favorite spot, we have a sculpture, it's called the Orb, it's like a fountain. I like to sit by there because the koi pond is there too. So there's a lot of trees and it's really pretty. It's near Hertig, the chem building. So I like to just sit there and read in one of the little chairs that's out there. It's just really peaceful and it's a good way to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city if you ever need, green space. Because I grew up in it's called Charlton. It's like a farm town in Massachusetts. So I'm used to having my green space and my trees. So it's nice to have that on campus as well.
Yeah, and actually, fun fact, Northeastern is actually a certified arboretum too, now that you mention it. Okay, Dr. Hansen, I'm going to go to you for this next question. Someone had submitted a question regarding if they could do a combined major in computer science and chemistry. We do have our data science and chemistry, but more specifically, would this person be able to pursue computational chemistry as a possible path as an undergraduate?
Okay, Two things. First of all, we do not have the computer science and chemistry combined major yet. We are in the process of pursuing or examining a variety of combined majors. That's one of the big things that Northeastern has, is the capacity to generate a lot of these programs across these disciplines and allow students to be able to really explore new opportunities. So the College of Computer Science has been engaging with a lot of different programs to work on that, but we do not have that specific combined major at this time. Computational chemistry is not a defined major or concentration at this particular time, but that certainly doesn't preclude you from taking courses in computer science or doing computational chemistry with the faculty that we have here. We have several faculty who are deeply engaged in doing computational research, and so that would be an opportunity. As far as I would sort of refer to Penny to comment further on this.
Yeah, happy to. Right, so there's not a specific major, but there is a lot of coursework and a lot of research opportunities in computational chemistry. So our physical chemistry course, one of them has a major component is computational chemistry. Then we actually offer a course like an upper level course in computational chemistry and molecular modeling that will teach you really, the field in more depth. And we have two newish faculty who are working in computational chemistry. So more and more research opportunities all the time. And I myself am doing a lot of this work without a license really at this point, because of trying to keep people engaged who can't physically be in the lab at the moment. And so, which actually I see a question about NUN that I started answering in the chat, but usually NUN students would get involved in research sort of once they get to campus, but actually now that I have so many online research projects going, and so do so many other groups, there's actually no reason to wait. If students are in an NUN program somewhere not in Boston and they want to do research, they actually can now, which is kind of nice that we've all made this transition. And I think there are a lot of good things that we're going to keep about it.
Great, thanks for that info there. Caroline, I'm going to go to you. A question came in talking about what type of co-ops as examples that chemistry students have done. Can you talk just a little bit, maybe talking about the different areas that you have known people to go into might be a great way to answer that.
Yeah, sure. I know Professor Boyning mentioned earlier, or somebody mentioned Living Proof earlier. I actually have two friends, both of whom will be on the e-board for NUSACs next year, actually, who've worked at Living Proof. My friend Sam Cox is working there right now, and my friend Lily Felsenthal worked there last year. But they do a lot of like cosmetic research, and I believe it's a hair care brand, so you get to get exposed to a different area of that. Another interesting one that I remember looking into was there's a position at Hasbro in process chemistry. And I believe the position was like figuring out how to get to certain colors of Play-Doh. So that's pretty interesting. There's a lot that you can do with a chemistry major. All of the stuff that I've done has been straight organic synthesis just because I know that's what I like. But yeah, Living Proof, Hasbro, there was someone my freshman year who worked at a food company. I don't remember what it was called, but they were working on creating edible packaging for food products. So it's a little bit more sustainable. So there's a lot of things that you can do with a chemistry major in the co-ops, and Northeastern has tons available to you.
Great, thanks. Okay, the next question is one of my favorite ones. The faculty are going to have to hit the mute button on this one. Eric, I'm going to you. Are professors always accessible? Are they real people?
Yes, they are real people. At least the professors that I've had, they're very accessible. All of my professors have had office hours every week. They hold study sessions before exams, at least within the chemistry department, because those are kind of the harder classes that I take. So I need more help from them. But I know that all of the professors I've had have office hours that you can go to every week. You can sign up or you can just show up. It's very easy, and it's not something to be intimidated by, because your professors do want you to succeed in their class and they want you to get the most out of it. At least that's what I think, and I'm sure that the professors here can speak to that as well. But I do think that it is very easy to get the help that you need, even just to get advice. I know that our chem department holds just drop-in hours. Penny holds those, and you can just come in and chat if you have free time or if you have questions. So at least in the chem department, there is a lot of room where you can meet with professors and just at least either get to know them or get to have your questions or insecurities about the field answered. And I think that's something that's really great about this department, and something that at least I've been really thankful for.
Eric, you bring up
Yes.
some good points, and I think one of the things that's actually happened during this COVID is that increased use of Zoom and actually being able to set up times when it's convenient for students to meet with us, through Zoom. And I've had many more contacts, many more people stopping in to go over classes and go over research in the last year on Zoom than before. And I think that that'll be something that will continue in the future.
Great. I think we're going to have to go down to our last question because we are running out of time. Time flies when we're having fun. Dr. Boyning, I'm going to go to you on this. There were a couple questions regarding NUN. So I was wondering if you could address how students, transition to the Boston campus within the major specifically, as well as are the same opportunities available?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for the NUN students who of course are spending fall semester somewhere else, when they arrive in the spring, we have a special orientation session just for those students who are coming in. So we we sort of orient them in the same way as the students who come in the fall, and introduce them to the new SACs, the student group leadership, so that we make sure that they get integrated into that community of students right away. And then in terms of opportunities, yeah, we definitely, I make no differentiation between the NUN students and other students in terms of people who want to work in my lab or people who want to do research, and I don't think other faculty are differentiating them in any way. I think it's not something, I mean, right, it's not like, oh, we didn't meet you in the fall, so therefore, we're definitely integrating those students into the community. And co-op is the same way. I think it's you just end up on one co-op cycle versus another, but you're not at any disadvantage. And Bob.
I want to speak to that because I've been with the undergraduate curriculum committee for the college, and we've been reviewing, and I wanted to be able to assure all of those students who are going out on NUN that we have reviewed the coursework that you're going to be taking in the STEM courses, the things that you would be taking wherever you're going to be going. And those are the courses that their curriculum, what you're going to be taught will be very similar, comparable to what we have here. And so when you transfer in, the mobility between wherever you go will allow you to come right back into Northeastern and to take the next courses in the next semester. That is something that we've been looking at significantly over the last couple of years to make sure that what you are receiving wherever you are is going to allow you to step in and continue on with your, in this case, chemistry program.
Great, thank you so much for that. Well, we are right on our end time right now, so I want to say thank you to all of our participants, our panelists here for faculty and for students, and shout out to the cat for being a special guest today. I love it. And for all of our folks in the audience, thank you so much for joining us. If you have any further questions, please do reach out to the college and we can connect you with our chemistry department. I know they will be happy to talk further with you. So with that, I'm going to say good evening to everyone. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.